Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Ryland. There is a reason why remakes and reboots are such big business in the entertainment industry. Everyone enjoys a nostalgic throwback, especially if they're being reshaped perfectly for the current generation. We have seen the overwhelming success of the Top Gun sequel, and there are plenty of examples of remakes to prove this point as well. The 80s gave us some of the finest and most unforgettable movies, and overlapped all the genres from action to sci-fi to horror. It is great news for the fans that some of these cult classics are seriously being considered for a relaunch in the recent future. So, in this video, we have compiled a list of these 80s movies that are currently being remade. And if these projects get the treatment they deserve, you will enjoy revisiting some of your best memories. Before we go into our explanation, however, we have a very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is just a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, let's begin.
The president was on board.
President of what?
That's not funny, Pliskin.
Escape from New York, 1981. Kurt Russell and the 80s era was a match made in heaven, and Escape from New York is probably one of his most iconic roles. Once again, the premise is that of a futuristic world that has been taken over by crime. The city of New York has been turned into a high-security prison where the worst criminals serve life imprisonment. However, everything goes haywire after the President of the United States crash lands into this dangerous terrain after a hijacking attempt on board. Snake Plissken, a ruthless, one-eyed ex-soldier, is now a convicted criminal, but he is offered freedom if he manages to rescue the president from this hell. If he fails to accomplish the mission within a certain time period, the microscopic explosives fitted in his body will explode. Time is ticking for Snake Plissken as he brings his guns and fury in the most dangerous rescue mission of all time.
I'm not a fool, Pliskin.
Call me Snake.
John Carpenter made quite a statement with this quintessential cult classic, and the movie had everything from the perfect cast to the coolest productions. The simple plot was taken into another league altogether, courtesy of some amazing dialogue and one-liners, and the non-stop action kept the viewers on the edge of their seats. The movie promises a riveting climax that is filled with suspense, and the likes of Kurt Russell, Lee Van Cleef, Adrian Barbeau, and Donald Pleasance delivering some unforgettable performances. The fans have been thrilled to learn that it's being remade, but the recasting challenges will be quite a handful. Firstly, a replacement for Kurt Russell is next to impossible, but the actor has stated several times that he wouldn't be reprising his role as an old man. Then again, there have been some rumors that the story will be a continuation and not a full-on remake, and hence, Kurt Russell might be back as Snake Plissken. Luckily for us, John Carpenter will be serving as executive producer, and 20th Century Studios should ensure that the production values are just as awesome as they were before. Now that the project has been officially confirmed, we're waiting with bated breath for a refurbished version of Escape from New York. The Thing, 1982. Few could have imagined that after the horrible initial response from the audience, that Thing would go on to become such a legendary and evergreen horror film. This John Carpenter classic tells the story of a dangerous shape-shifting alien species in the middle of the wilderness of Antarctica. It all starts after a US research facility discovers some strange activities at a nearby Norwegian research station. Further investigation reveals that the Norwegian facility has been slaughtered by some sort of alien life form, and it soon becomes clear that the US research station has also been infiltrated. The alien creature can assimilate into other life forms, and there is no easy way to identify the enemy because it could be anyone in the group. Can this unknown threat be destroyed, or will the entire base be taken over?
We'll do you last.
This movie redefined the 1980s, and the terrifying narrative has loads of suspense to keep you guessing the entire time. It was a masterpiece, and didn't require any over-the-top CGI to strike fear in the hearts of the viewers. The Thing proves, once again, why practical effects are superior with the right story, and the nail-biting claustrophobia in the narrative just adds to the experience. Kurt Russell and the other members of the cast delivered some genuine performances, and this movie surely deserves a modern-day remake. The news has been floating around for quite some time that Blumhouse Productions has been working with John Carpenter to map the way ahead for a possible reboot. The project is still in its early stages, and there have been quite a few delays along the way, jeopardizing the process. The 2011 prequel received a mixed response, but a reboot done right just might be a game changer. If the remake does come together, it would be a joy for any 80s horror fan to revisit some of their most favorite nightmares. The Toxic Avenger. The Toxic Avenger probably captures the true spirit of the entertaining 80s cinema, and it proved that even a low-budget effort can be made appealing for the audience. The movie is about a nerdy, meek mop boy named Melvin, who works at the Tromaville Health Club. He gets pushed around and bullied on a regular basis, and one such prank leaves him in a vat of toxic waste. However, this traumatic experience transforms Melvin from a bullied weakling to a powerful monster, known as the Toxic Avenger. He becomes a popular crime fighter, but the corrupt mayor of the town wants to get rid of him. It becomes a typical fight between good and evil forces. Only this time, there is the added kick of campy makeup effect, tons of action, and a laugh riot of a script. This was the perfect B-movie that raised expectations for ones to follow. The Toxic Avenger was also a landmark project for Troma Films, which gained worldwide recognition after the breakout popularity of the movie. The quirky humor in the narrative will leave you in splits, and the creative premise never fails to entertain. The entire movie is filled with cheesy and campy moments, but you should know what to expect when you try out a Troma Films production. The B-movie fans will be delighted to know that The Toxic Avenger has been marked for a reboot. It will not exactly be a thorough remake because the narrative will go through a temporary reimagining. The best part is the inclusion of Michael Hertz, the original director, as a part of the new project, and he will be co-producing this reboot along with Lloyd Kaufman. Troma Entertainment will be in charge yet again, and the writing and direction will be handled by Macon Blair, whom you might know from I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. Peter Dinklage, the Game of Thrones star, has been cast as the Toxic Avenger, and since the initial release was supposed to be this year, you might expect the project to emerge soon enough. Commando, 1985. You cannot call yourself an action movie fan if you haven't seen this 80s classic starring the iconic Arnold Schwarzenegger. Commando was one of those movies that defined him as the primary action star of the era, and the movie was nothing less than a spectacle. The story picks up with the kidnapping of the daughter of a retired army colonel named John Matrix. Just when he planned to lead a quiet family life, his world came crashing down, and he set out to rescue his little girl. John soon uncovers a deeper conspiracy, which is planned to gain leverage on him and force him into conduct an assassination. Time is running out because the trained commando must find his daughter while making sure that the conspirators are brought to justice. Bullets start flying and explosions galore as the action-packed mission takes shape. Steady! It wouldn't be an understatement to suggest that Commando is one of the finest action flicks from the 1980s. It was an era when excess action was not frowned upon, and that is precisely what you get: non-stop violence and massacre with a lot of noise. Of course, the movie is not about finesse and intricate plot, but that never stops the show from becoming any less entertaining. We have been super excited after Commando actor Vernon Wells revealed the plans about a potential prequel. He said that the main characters of the movie would be brought back for this prequel, and that the story would focus on their lives before the events of the first movie. It was being speculated that Arnold Schwarzenegger wants to be part of the project, and the movie kept getting delayed because of his insanely busy schedule. We have to admit, Commando probably wouldn't be on top of the priority list among other Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, but the fresh prequel might not be a bad idea. Also, the prequel needs to have some great one-liners and 80s style action in order to make an impact. Since nothing is formally announced yet, maybe it's best to keep our fingers crossed for the time being.
Ready? Fire!
Akira, 1988. Akira brought the best of post-apocalyptic action drama in the form of a Japanese animated movie, and is still remembered for being one of the genre-defining projects. This cyberpunk film is premised in a futuristic world that has been ravaged by World War III, and the aftermath that has seen a steady rebuilding process. Neo Tokyo, which is the rebuilt version of the old city, is a thriving metropolis, but corruption and evil runs deep in the society. In this hour of crisis, a notorious biker gang member gets supernatural powers courtesy of a secret military project. When he chooses to use his powers for evil, there rises a force capable enough to counter this anarchy. The sequence of events will go on to determine the fate of the world, and you all know how that works out. Akira is regarded as a landmark project in Japanese animation, and the sheer influence of the movie cannot be discounted. It is a worthy adaptation of a famous graphic novel by Katsushiro Otomo, and you can feel every moment of this adrenaline-pumping narrative. While the movie is famously known for its action, there is also a proper storyline that you will appreciate, and everything from the dialogue to the animation style is a showstopper. Fans of Akira will be delighted to know that Taika Waititi has been requested to take over the project, and the Thor Love and Thunder director is reportedly immediately on board for a live-action remake. While the original is as close to perfection as you can imagine, a reimagined remake might still add value to the project. The remake has been stuck in development for years, until recently when the director revealed in an interview that he is still working on the project so that it doesn't get lost in the development process. There have also been some disturbing rumors about the project being put on hold, and as of now, we can only hope for the best. An American Werewolf in London, 1981. As far as werewolf movies are concerned, this is one of the finest of all time, and the horror fans lapped up the thrilling tale of two American students encountering werewolves during their trip to London. David and Jack are attacked by a werewolf, and while Jack is fatally wounded, David survives the attack with a few injuries. Later, he wakes up in the hospital, but he soon realizes that his troubles are far from over. He gets a visit from his dead friend Jack, who warns him that he is about to turn into a werewolf and must kill himself to get rid of the curse. Initially, he ignores this as harmless hallucinations, but soon he transforms into a werewolf and goes on a murderous rampage across the country. What will become of David as he gets stuck in this supernatural conflict? Back in the day, this movie won the Academy Award for Best Makeup, and that speaks volumes about the visual effects of the film. Every transformation sequence and scenes with werewolves comes alive, and John Landis delivers one of his most memorable movies, which never really gets too campy despite the tendency in the narrative. The perfect combination of horror, comedy, action, and suspense makes it such a genre-defining movie, and the narrative also has some emotional elements, especially towards the end. It was rumored a long time ago that the Walking Dead director, Robert Kirkman, is in talks for the remake project, with Max Landis, John Landis' son, writing for the reboot. Some unfortunate events and allegations against Max pushed the project back, but there was never a formal cancellation. Fans are hopeful that the project will be greenlit once more, but we cannot say the same with conviction any longer. The only reason you can hope against hope for a possible remake is because the project is simply too big and lucrative to be dropped permanently.
I don't want to kill you. Join us. Never.
Lost Boys, 1987. Among the abundance of horror comedies that we enjoyed during the 1980s, one of the movies that grabbed a lot of attention and appreciation was The Lost Boys. It tells the story of brothers Sam and Mike, who move with their recently divorced mother to a small town in California. The town has been witnessing a few mysterious deaths in the recent past, and a biker gang has been disturbing the peace and quiet. There are also some rumors about possible vampire activity, and Sam even befriends two boys, claimed vampire hunters. Meanwhile, his brother Mike is lured away by a beautiful girl. He shows the signs of being turned into a vampire. His proximity with the rogue bikers grows day by day, and now it's up to Sam and his friends to destroy the main vampire and rescue his brother. In order to know what happens next, you have to just go and watch the movie. Or maybe you can wait for the remake. This movie has become a cult classic and was regarded as one of the best vampire movies ever made. One of the main reasons behind the incredible success and popularity was the ability of the narrative to blend horror, adventure, and comedy in a heartwarming story. The plot was uniquely refreshing, and the cast was simply brilliant, with the lights of Corey Haim and Jason Patric impressing as the protagonists. After the overwhelming response from the fans over the decades, it didn't come off as much of a surprise when a remake was announced recently. The idea has been around for quite a few years, and initially Rob Thomas and Marco Sica from Veronica Mars and the Vampire Diaries respectively were given the responsibility. The earlier remake plans were supposed to substitute the brothers with sisters as the protagonist, but eventually the idea was dropped. Things got even more interesting when Warner Brothers became involved with the project. Randy McKinnon, who worked with Static Shock, took up the screenwriting duties, and the direction will be in charge of Jonathan Entwistle, whose Netflix series, The End of the Effing World, got quite a bit of attention. It is reported that the story will be set in the modern time period, and Noah Jupe from A Quiet Place and Jaden Martell from It will be playing the main roles. While the filmmakers are tight-lipped about the story, we can promise you a thorough entertainer if they recreate the magic of the original, retaining the right flavors.
There can be only one.
Highlander, 1986. Tales of the immortal Scottish swordsman Connor MacLeod became the talk of the entertainment industry after Highlander hit a home run in the 1980s. It is the story of a New York antique shop owner, Russell Nash, who finds out about his past life in the 16th century. He recalls being a gallant warrior who is immortal unless he's beheaded. However, there is a tiny catch. All other immortals indulge in a game of trying to kill each other because the last one standing will gain the powers of all the fallen. In the modern day world, Russell is caught in a fix after after learning all these insane things about himself. To make matters only worse, another deadly immortal named Kurgan is looking to hunt him down. There can only be one winner, and the fight that began in the 16th century is about to culminate in modern-day New York City. A fantasy, sci-fi, action, and drama packed into one, Highlander ticked all the right boxes for a booming box office performance. Of course, like many other 80s cult classics, it couldn't become an instant hit, but the fortunes changed very quickly. Christopher Lambert and Sean Connery made for an iconic cast, and the energetic narrative boasts of some impeccable camera work. It is unfortunate that all the sequels and TV shows that have followed over the years could never really match up to the original. Hence, it might be an exciting prospect for the fans to hear about the possibility of a remake in the near future. There have been talks about Superman star Henry Cavill being cast in the project, and we couldn't imagine anyone better suited for the role. The movie is still in the initial production process, and Chad Stahelski, who is confirmed to be part of the project, has shed some light on the future. He revealed that the new movie has almost ascertained its creative direction, and he also confirmed that Henry Cavill is being seriously considered for the role. One more consideration, one more ray of hope, and we hope we don't get our hearts broken on the promises made. Highlander, starring Henry Cavill, sounds too good to miss out. Big Trouble in Little China. The director-actor duo of John Carpenter and Kurt Russell was a match made in heaven, and the 80s saw the partnership flourish with some incredible projects. Big Trouble in Little China was just another feather in their hats, and the movie takes you through the action-packed life of a truck driver named Jack Burton. This wisecracking trucker accompanies his friend Wang Chi to the airport, where the latter is about to pick up his fiancée Miao Yin. However, they are shocked to find out that she has been kidnapped by a Chinese gang immediately after arrival. As Jack and Wayne investigate further, they discover that the entire plan has been hatched by an evil sorcerer, David Lo Pan. He has been existing for over 2,000 years without a physical body because of a curse, and the only way for him to undo this curse is to marry the chosen woman, which happens to be Miao. Now, Jack must help his friend rescue his wife, as the two take on the evil minions of the sorcerer and the entire might of his supernatural powers. Kurt Russell was going through a string of flops when this movie was offered to him, and initially he was hesitant. Luckily for us, John Carpenter convinced him to be part of the project, and the rest, as they say, is history. The tongue-in-cheek 80s classic is not meant to be taken seriously, so you would be wasting your time if you try to find the loopholes in the plot. The narrative is all about Kurt Russell being the brash and bold character that doesn't shy away from life-threatening action. The fast-paced storytelling makes the battle between good and evil iconic, and it wouldn't be an overstatement to call this one of the greatest action flicks from the 1980s. Contemporary action fans will be thrilled to know that Dwayne Johnson is going to star in the remake of this cult classic. However, we all know just how packed his schedule is, and recently it has been revealed that there are still too many complications with the project. That being said, the makers are still enthusiastic and eager to make this work, and if all goes right, you can see a remade version of Big Trouble in Little China in the next 2 to 3 years. WarGames. WarGames was a pleasant shock for the fans of sci-fi thrillers, and the movie breathed life into the genre in the 1980s. The narrative revolves around a brilliant kid with incredible computer expertise after he connects to a top-secret supercomputer. This high-tech machine has the controls of the US nuclear weapons, and the young teenager David thinks of it as merely a game. By the time he realizes the seriousness of the matter, he is on the verge of starting a nuclear war that just might bring about World War III. Meanwhile, the authorities start closing in because they suspect David of being a spy, and the young man has to act quickly before it's too late. The movie was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, and for good reason. It was well and truly ahead of its time, and the witty and funny story came with a fascinating message in the horrifying days of the Cold War. Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy were quite impressive in the acting department, and everything from the set designs to the well-paced narrative acted in the favor of the movie. This well-reached entertaining thriller got a direct-to-video sequel in 2008, but the WarGames reboot series is the one that has the fans excited. This was an interactive take on the story, which they cleverly changed from the Cold War perspective to the modern-day government monitoring issue. As of late, there have been some rumors about a remake project being led by the director of the 2017 Power Rangers, Dean Israelite. He was previously in consideration for the interactive series, but as it turns out, the remake of WarGames will be directed by him. There have been no further updates regarding this in the recent past, and we wouldn't want to get our hopes up despite the previous announcements. Alien Nation, 1988. The 80s made us extremely curious about extraterrestrial life forms, and movies like Alien Nation are responsible for this interest. The movie is premised in a world that has made contact with a distant alien civilization. These alien creatures, called newcomers, are made into an integral part of human society with time, but they soon start facing some discrimination. One of the newcomer police officers is partnered with a human veteran, and the differences between the two are soon bridged when they discover a wider conspiracy in the newcomer underworld. If the issues are not fixed urgently, the peaceful coexistence of the two species might be jeopardized. Buddy cop movies have always been a staple for Hollywood, and Alien Nation adds a fresh twist to the concept, where one cop is human and the other is an alien. Of course, you can find deeper interpretations in the plotline, but we choose to ignore any such insights and simply enjoy the entertainment on offer. The intelligent plot makes for a genuine thriller, and there is everything from humor to action that you might wish for. James Caan and Mandy Patinkin were perfectly suited in their respective roles, and Alien Nation has such a contemporary concept that it has every chance of flourishing with a modern remake. Jeff Nichols has always had plans of remaking the movie, but after Disney's acquisition of Fox, the project was put on hold. Last year, he revealed in a podcast that he still retains the ambitions, and he spoke about his plans of turning it into a 10-episode TV show. We cannot wait to see how that pans out, and if it's even half as good as the original, it will definitely be worth our time. Fletch, 1985. The titular character Fletch is an ace reporter who has worked for some sensational news as an anonymous journalist. Currently, he is working in disguise and living as a bum near the beach to find out more about drug deals that have been happening. One day, a rich man approaches him with a deal. Get $50,000 to kill a cancer-ridden man named Mr. Stanwyck so that his wife gets the insurance money. Fletch digs deep into the life of Mr. Stanwyck, and as a reporter, he finds out that the man is completely wealthy and part of a wider conspiracy. The hit job that Fletch was offered is also related to the drug deals that he has been investigating, and he might risk it all to get to the root of the matter. This movie could have been a solid thriller, but the makers chose to go the funny way with the plot. Chevy Chase as the protagonist is up to the task, and a flurry of one-liners and a witty script help his cause. There is an element of mystery and drama as well, but comedy overpowers all such themes. To its credit, the movie never becomes predictable and keeps you guessing till the very end. We had been waiting for a proper remake effort for decades now, and finally our prayers have been answered with Confess Fletch, which released this year. Kevin Smith first came up with the proposal for the Dream Project, and this dates back to 1997. He wanted to create a sequel titled Son of Fletch, but things never really materialized, and eventually Universal lost the movie rights. After Miramax begged the rights, Kevin Smith went ahead with the plans yet again, intending to cast Ben Affleck or even Ryan Reynolds in the lead role. It almost got finalized with the former, but once he quit the project, Fletch got shelved once more. Again in 2014, Jason Sudeikis was considered for the role, but the back and forth game continued, and the movie continued to get delayed. Finally, the movie was greenlit, with John Hamm in the titular role, and it was a total reboot of the 80's project. The story is about Fletch's fight to prove his innocence after being accused of murder, and it has received a positive response from the fans. While we are eagerly awaiting for all these remakes and reboots of 80's classics to come our way, we are also cautious of a few becoming potential disasters. Tweaking and changing too much might turn out to be fatal, and the last thing the fans want is for their cherished memories to be ruined. May we get the 80s served with fresh paint, but retaining all the old materials. What are your thoughts on our list? Let us know in the comments which remakes you're most excited about. Don't forget to tell us the reasons, and also write about the ones that you think will ruin your childhood memories of the original. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Marvelous Videos. If you enjoyed our content, then please leave us a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe.